This is the collection wall, the feature wall and focal point of my house. Hi everyone, welcome back. As you can see, there are no packages on the table, and that's because I'll be doing a special one today. You see, I'll be heading out to Japan for 2 months, and I wanted to make it a target to complete my figurine wall before I go. So today, I'll be doing a stock take on my progress, and while I'm at it, I might as well show you my collections thus far. But before that, a little bit of context. So I recently moved to my current place, like 6 months ago. That doesn't sound too recent, right? But if you consider the renovation and the unpacking of all the general stuff, yeah, it took about 6 months. But after all that was done, I could finally start opening up my figurine collection. And I felt that I really needed to do this before Japan because there are some figures that have been in their box for a really long time. A really long time. Like 3 to 4 years, kinda long. It's so bad to the point that some figures have been discovered to be sticky. And these are scale figures I'm talking about. Complex looking scale figures. Getting rid of the stickiness is a pain. Let me tell you that. I wish I discovered about this sticky figures issue like 3 years ago. You may be wondering, why didn't I open the figures when I bought them? Well, I was staying in a tiny apartment. Like super tiny. It was so tiny that I took over the living room and moved into the bedroom, eventually behind the couch, and the kitchen as well. Yeah, it was bad. Opening the figures and displaying them was just not viable. But now, I'm in a new place, much bigger and better to display my collection. So for the past couple of months, I've been busy unboxing and setting up my figurine shelf. Why am I taking so long? Well, let me show you. This is my working space. You see, while I'm unboxing figures, some of which are brand new in the box, I figured I might as well do a recording process of it. It gives me a good record of what I have, and also to share it with you guys. That's why I made it a point to record the unboxing, assembly, and review process as a good reference for myself and you guys. Unboxing all my figures takes a really long time for me because I first need to sort out which I need to unbox first. And I do this by first visualizing how my shelf would look like. I use PowerPoint and online photos of figures that I have to compose the shelf, and thereafter pick out those figures to be unboxed first. During this process, understanding the dimensions of the figure as well as the shelf was quite critical. This is because the figures have to be seen in correlation to other figures as well as the shelf size. By the way, how the shelf was designed? Well, that's for another video. There needs to be a proper presentation on the interior design process because that's a whole other topic altogether. Look forward to that. Anyway, in this workspace, here I have a bunch of unboxed figures for a shelf, ready to go to the video recording process. On the other side, I have figures that have already been unboxed but pending the assembly process. So this whole space is like a factory line. Anyway, let's move on to the next area. By the way, in case you guys are wondering what's sitting on top the Belfine Rengoku which I am refusing to open because I'm too lazy, this is my graveyard of figures. Basically figures that have broke in the process of delivery, or due to manufacturing issues, or possibly through the transportation to my new place. Anyway, just like Rengoku, these guys are here because I'm too lazy to fix them. This is my recording space. And you probably recognize this wooden wall. Well, it's actually a timber laminated cabinet to conceal all sorts of stuff. And I really like how warm this timber looks. You'll find it throughout my house. Here is the countertop, which is used as the backdrop for my unboxing process. It's in a honed finish quartz that looks like concrete. I really love it. And over there, that giant thing, that's my tripod that can't even fit in the screen. I use it to record the overhead shots for the unboxing process. Anyway, as you can see, in this space, I was in the process of recording the unboxing of this Asuka Nendoroid. Hopefully I can finish this by tonight. Oh, yeah, and it's like 3 AM now. But before I get back to that, let's move on to the next space. Got stuck. By the way, you'll find that there's a dismembered ramp here because when I opened her up, I realized that she was super dirty, like so full of dust. So I had to give her a thorough bath, and now she's just drying out. So don't mind her being here. I usually use this container to wash out sticky figures or dirty figures, especially those that can fit in it. And this whole space is kinda the washing area. Well, it makes sense since this is also the kitchen. Here is the post-processing space. Well, basically it's where the computers are. And it's also where my favorite law chair is. Look at this baby. Anyway, in this space, because there are computers, I do my video editing and processing works here. Well, that's about it. So let's move on to the next and final space, which you can kinda have a glimpse over here. This is the collection wall, the feature wall and focal point of my house. Everything in this house is designed for this wall. Feast your eyes on it. Right now, this wall is a work in progress. You can see some of the shelves with figures already set up, and there are some where the figures are still left in the box. I also have a couple of customized risers lying around, waiting for these figures to be unboxed so that they can go into the wall. And that's it for the room tour. No, I'm just kidding. I still need to show you my collection. I mean, that's what you're here for, right? However, I still have a couple of unboxed figures. And at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that my target was to open everything up before I go Japan. There's still a couple of weeks more before I leave. So give me 1 sec and I'll get this all sorted.
Much later.
Hi, I'm back. And the shelf is somewhat completed. Before I start, I just want to caveat that this is a work in progress. Some of the risers that you see on your shelf are not correct and are just there as placeholders. Also, for all the figures that I'm sharing, I have tediously recorded them and future videos of them will be coming up. Who knows when? I mean, since I already recorded them, I might as well share it with you. Take this collection tour as a preview of the future reviews. Lastly, for the cost of this collection which I'm about to show you, well, it's about 70k Singapore dollars. That's about 50k USD, based on today's exchange rate. This is only for figures that you see on the shelf, both scaled figures and non-scaled figures. It excludes other merch like acrylic stands, tapestries, and even the risers. And that 70k SGD cost that I mentioned, that is not an estimate. That is the exact amount I paid based on my credit card bill. It includes the figure price, shipping costs, any proxy fees if any, as well as the exchange rate based on the day the figure was bought. Yes, I have a record of the exchange rate changes since 3 years ago till now. And I have seen the strength of the Japanese yen falling over the years. It used to be 1 SGD to 75 yen, and today it's about 1 SGD to 116 yen thereabouts. My gosh, the change is huge. It's crazy to think that it used to be common sense to invest in yen as an alternative to USD because it's very stable. Thank God I invested in plastics instead. By the way, I'm not a certified investment advisor, so don't listen to me. Anyway, a while back, I made this article about how my very tedious collection cost tracker was done. So if you want to follow suit, do check out the link in the description below. So without further ado, let's get to the collection tour. Here is the updated version of my collection wall, with all things pretty and plastic filling up the shelves. Before I start, I want to apologize for the flickering bands you may encounter on the screen. This is not you, but my crappy shelf lighting. The AC to DC driver isn't working, so I hope you can bear with me. I swear this flicker is not visible in real life, and only occurs because my beginner camera only supports 60 FPS. By right, a 120 FPS camera should counter this. However, I've got no more money to buy that now. Anyway, onto the wall, starting off with section 1 and 2. At the very top shelf of section 1, I have two 1/4 scale bunnies of Shiro and Stephanie Dola from No Game No Life. Basically, almost all my 1/4 scales are up here cause they are big and visible from far. For these two, I kinda need a riser to raise them up, just like the other top shelves which you will see later. Also, I have a space here to fit one more kneeling bunny. For now, it is what it is. Directly below that, I have what I call the traditional Japanese shelf. Basically figures in kimonos, Japanese school uniform, all that goes here if they look good together. For the shelves, I added in risers to create step tiers for rows of figures. Below these, where possible, I fit in some figure boxes to maximize storage space. Eventually, I intend to find some tapestry or cloth to conceal these hidden boxes. Some of my shelves already has this, and they look pretty neat compared to this mess you see here. As for the figures, right at the back, I have two hokusais in the corner, both of which are framing the very popular Wakamo at the center. In some of the shelves, I also scattered various acrylic stands in somewhat matching themes between the figures. No idea where to put them, so here they are. On the tier below, I have two schoolgirls, Blue and Noshiro, with Hatsuaki. You know, Blue and Noshiro are supposed to be the same scale, but look at how much bigger Blue is compared to Noshiro. It's either Noshiro is meant to be tiny, or Blue is bigger than 1/7. Either way, because of this, I need a riser for Noshiro. I also plan to fit a figure next to Hatsuaki eventually, so this is a placeholder space for now. Lastly, on the lowest tier, I have the boys from Dramatic Murder, Aoba and Kojaku, as well as the Chinese zombie Shuten Doji, which is supposed to be some Matsuri version. She is a Chinese zombie to me cause I'm Asian. I believe more can fit on this lower tier, so it's nice to know I have some real estate here. Moving down, I call this the shelf of folks that seem to be at work. Mainly it's just figures that I think looks good together and are in their working or daily life clothes. Just like the above shelf, I have tiered risers, but for this one, I found a nice spy family tapestry by Ask, which looks like this. Sadly, there are gaps at the sides, making my boxes visible. I'm still thinking on how to conceal this, so maybe I'll get a black cloth or find another tapestry to put together with this one. Anyway, for the figures, in the left corner I have Ash and Ultra Pendragon with Hernando, looking like they're busy. At the other side, I have two Nanas looking very fashionable. Seems like it's their daily life outfit. Right at the center is Shiraori in her spider form, cause she's working for Ariel right now. You know I'm just winging it at this point. I also have a Nendo of her chibi cute spider form to show the contrast. On the tier below, I have the Spy X family. And yes, Anya is working as a spy right now. Next to them, I have the pop-up parade of Guts in his battle armor, looking really cool. On the other side, I have the girls from Kula Q. They are in their default outfits, so I'll take it as their daily life clothes. On the last tier, I have Live by My Toes, as well as Shiki and Rebecca from the underrated Eden Zero anime. I wish Kotobukiya made some figures from Fairy Tail. They kinda nailed these two pretty well. On this tier, I still have some space to fit more figures, so yay! Moving down again, this is my mecha shelf. Easy. All things mecha looking come here. Here, I have the Kaiju 8 tapestry with the boys in the steam room. I know this does not fit here, but I have yet to find something else, so it is what it is for now. This Shiro at the corner is also an exception for the shelf. She is here because her counterpart Shri is on the other side. I love how both were designed with such symmetry. Next to them, I have little robots, such as this Magitech armor and Erika with a Kobu. Similarly, on the other side, I have Sakura with Kobu, as well as a Blitzcrank from League of Legends. On the tier below, I have the hung-up Shuvi, framed by Pyra and Mithra. Shuvi's base is so big and will just block whatever is behind. Wasted my shelf space. Oh wells. Lastly below, I have another Shuvi figure, and this is the very first figure that I got my hands on physically. Very memorable. Beside her, I have Baltimore looking super cool. On this tier, I have space to put one more figure here, so just waiting for the next mecha one that catches my eye. Below this, I have a short shelf to store Nendo boxes. I have designed this wall to allow a continuous row of Nendo boxes below. Thankfully, I have enough to fill the gaps considering there is a new box design now. Moving on to section 2, right at the top, I have the 1/4 scale bunny of Jibril, Great Wall version with bare leg, as well as the Jibril Angel version with stockings. Moving down to the shelf below, this is where I put all the airplane looking stuff together. I say airplane looking because you can clearly see some non-airplane related figures here, but they suit the vibe. At the top corner, I have Lina from 86, a series which seriously needs more figures. Like, where's Shin? Beside her is the Boeing plane model kit with Demon Slayer collaboration. Yes, there is an actual plane that looks like this. It's just like the Pokemon plane I got from Scoot from my trip to Japan. I also got another Demon Slayer plane in a different design, and yes, this was also a real plane. Here, I also have Watanabe Yu from Love Life. I know she is in a sailor outfit, but it gives me pilot vibes. On the lower shelf, I have Le Marlin and Le Triumphant, looking like they are a pair. Next to them is the 2018 Thai Racing Miku with Marin and the Racing Baltimore right at the center. Marin is the odd one out here, but that's cause she has a totally matching pose with Miku. I can't help it. Lastly, on the tier below, I have the 2016 Racing Miku, Vampire Miku, and another Demon Slayer plane with Bache. For the Racing Miku, I just can't get the umbrella to stay up permanently, so it stays where it likes to be, on the floor. As for the other Miku, she's also an odd one out in this shelf. But she has fangs like Bache. Yeah, that's why she's here. As for the plane, yes, it's another Demon Slayer plane that is real. I also have space for one more figure here, so who knows who that will be. On the shelf below, this is totally a work in progress. No theme. I just have a Chiyo right here at the bottom, with a Great Wall Jibril and Shiro on a float over here. I also have the Angel version of Jibril on the other side. Lastly, at the back, I have all the different pop-up parades of Lucy. As for the shelf below, well, this one is more put together. This here is my street style shelf. I also have another Spy X Family tapestry here to conceal the boxes. At the back, I have a row of Radio Eva version 2 figures, looking super swag. On the lower tier, I only have some Katekyo Hitman Reborn stands. Have not decided if I want to put the version 1 Radio Eva gang over here. Lastly, on the lowest tier, I have the Neon City Ram and Ram with Dancing Joker and Leonardo below. Here is Leonardo, which I just realized was blocked by Ram. Just like the adjacent shelf, I have Nendo boxes below this as well. Next up, let's move on to section 3 and 4 of my collection wall. Starting with section 3, right at the top, I have more 1/4 scales. This here is Ringo by Binding, looking fabulous on the floor. On the other side, I also have Sean on the floor, looking very lovely, together with Ellie right behind her. The centerpiece is a figure which I am sadly not proud to own, even though she fits here. This is a third-party resin Mani, which is sadly stolen art from Sakimi-chan. Wish I knew this before I paid for it. Moving down, I have a foresty shelf. For these risers, I used the bonus tapestry from the Camellia and Lila figures. For the cloth at the back, it's just some print of Law and Rengoku I randomly found in Malaysia. Not authentic, definitely. For the figures, right at the top, I have a Nezuko popcorn bucket. Demon Slayer is here cause they mostly fight in the forest. You can tell I'm just winging it here again. Beside her, I have Mugen from Samurai Champloo, both the Nendoroid and Pop-Up Parade. Behind him is Fu and Jin as well. Sadly, they don't have Nendoroids. Next to them, also from Demon Slayer, is Shinobu as well as Giyu. I also have Kanao right at the back over here. On the lower tier, I have the Attack on Titan trio on the tree stump with Hunter from Bikini Warriors. Below Hunter, that is definitely a Cubone skull. I got this from a local artist alley, but sadly I can't recall who this is from. At the center, I have this really cute Demon Slayer phone holder from the Nintendo Switch game. I'm thinking of using it at my table, but for now this sits here. Lastly, this is the lowest tier, and I have Lila, another archer matching Hunter behind. Below is a 3D printed Bulbasaur from the same artist that did the Cubone skull above. Next to them is just a head. No, I'm just kidding. This is sadly my broken Mofu Mofu figure by Obstetrician M. I'm just too lazy to fix this. Well, at least her little sheep body is A-OK. I also got the Bebe figure from Obstetrician M. She also broke from shipping, but fixing her was a lot easier and faster. Hence, she is in one piece. Lastly, this is my recently unboxed alpha figure from Plantopia. By the way, have I mentioned that my base is numbered? Hehe. Okay, that's it. Moving on to the next shelf. This is my tea party shelf. And fittingly enough, I have the bonus towel from the Shiro Alice in Wonderland figure. It goes really well here. For the figures at the top tier, I have the ReZero girls having a tea party. Ram and Ram are not part of the tea party set, but these ones from Good Smile look really good here. I also have Nanachi and Miti providing some bread to the ladies. On the other side is the Tea Time Teapot cat that kinda works here as well. As for this acrylic stand from Saitom, it's here because Lufia from Saitom is below. I know she's not here for the tea party, but her laying low here looks kinda nice. Behind her is my 15th anniversary Miku which is also tea party themed. On the other side, I have an old school Rengoku and Hitsugaya in a steampunk stand. I don't know, tea party seems to be from that era. Below them is the Mikamo Neru bunny. She's clearly here for a different kind of party. Actually, she's here only cause she has a shiny outfit like Lufia, and it's red just like Lufia's base. Lastly, right at the center, I have Nekoparagas. Maple and cinnamon are censored cause their chest covers can't stay on without tape. So just admire chocolate and vanilla from here. Lastly for this section is my swimsuit, bodysuit and pajama party shelf. Just like the previous sections, this shelf has Nendo boxes below as well. For the risers here, I have the Shinobu and Kanao towers from Raku Spa, matching the colors of this shelf. At the back, I have Oshijima with Super Bunny at the corner. The Teddy Bear Hunter with Mamako is at the other side, and Midori and Pink are right at the center. Moving down, I have Shiro's and Izuna from No Game No Life in swimsuits. Despite how controversial these are, I still love Shiro, and you will see that in the next shelf. On this tier, I have some space at the sides where I can add in more figures. Perhaps I'll expand my Shiro collection. Who knows? Lastly, on the last tier, I have Chio. I don't know, her default outfit looks like a swimsuit, and Mamako is only here cause she is here. Lastly, right at the center, I have Anya in her home clothes, which I consider as her pajamas. She's surrounded by acrylic stands of her family. On to the next section number 4. Right at the top, I have more No Game No Life figures. I got the 1/12 scale Shampoo Jibril, Neko Shiru, and Inu Stephanie with the corresponding 1/4 scales. I also have the 1/4 Shuvi here. Towering above these girls is Madoka, as well as Homura in 1/4 scale. They are both in very lovely dresses. Moving down to the shelf below, this is where most of my Shiros are. And when I say I love this girl, I really mean it. Okay, Shuvi is here as well, but you get my point. I believe I have all the Shiros from Fat Company and Good Smile Company here. Here is the lower tier with more Shiro and Shuvi figures. Below them is Shiro and Izuna from Union Creative. Lastly, on the lowest tier is the Alice in Wonderland Shiro. And on this tier, I'm glad to have more space to expand my Shiro collection. Moving down to the lower shelf, this is also a work in progress. It's supposed to be a Chinese theme shelf, but a bunch of other stuff went in. Right at the back, I have Mahiru and Fiolina wall, together with the Chinese dress Emilia and Ram right at the center. Shinobu and Stephanie Dola are at the side. Moving down a tier, I have Izuna and Shiro in very lovely kimonos. At the side, I have a Chinese dress Soniko. I wanted to put Soniko with Fiolina wall, so yeah, this shelf is not satisfactory to me yet. Finally, on the lowest tier, I have Kana, childhood Ram and Ram, as well as Emilia, and the Shiro and Shuvi pop-up parades. Finally, the last shelf in this section. Also a mishmash of random things I have yet to figure out. Here, I have 3 Kuji prize towers, which are strangely the perfect size for these risers. For the figures on the top row, I have Mouth and the Nankai Roiro girl, Liko, at the sides. A fishing Nanachi takes the center spot. At the lower tier, I have this Sakura Nendoroid, which was thankfully re-released, together with the Penguin Playground. Next to her, I have the Trick or Treat Miku, which was also thankfully re-released. Lastly, I have a scale figure and price figure of Nanachi and Miti looking very precious. On the lowest tier, I have the Onsen Shiro. Controversial as this figure is, I love Shiro. Beside her, I have another iconic playground from my country, Singapore. This is the Dragon Playground, which is one of our heritage landmarks. I got this Lego looking thing of it. Lastly, I have Chio in a very suggestive pose. Well, let's move on. Once again, below this shelf, I have more Nendo boxes to continue the line. Okay guys, we are at the halfway point at section 5 of the wall. Right at the top, I have the typical 1/4 bunny figures from Freeing of Ram and Ram, Urza and Lucy, as well as Ryuko from Q-la-Q. Below them, I have a whole bunch of acrylic stands of the various Demon Slayer characters running. This is the bonus benefits from the Blu-ray sets. Yeah, I got them all. To the side, I have the March Hare from Maito's Fairy Tail series. This piece is absolutely beautiful. I wish he could be on the lower shelf, but he just takes up so much height. He ends up blocking any figures behind him. Annoying. Moving down, I previously mentioned that I love Shiro. Well, I'm simping Law too, and this is his shrine. For the risers, I have Law's 2023 birthday tower, as well as a table mat of Law and Choppa from Zai Zai or ZZ, one of my favorite artists out there. At the top shelf, I have the Sailing Again Law version 2, together with IRO Law. Beside them, I have the BT Studios Beppo, a third-party resin figure. Lastly, I have the Iroh Luffy, as well as the very much improved, fully exposed abs Sailing Again Law version 2.5. On to tier 2, I have the Egghead Arc Law price figures, both man and female version. Right at the center are a bunch of sitting Laws from Mega House and Brain Studio, a third-party resin figure brand. Lastly, once again, another Sailing Again Law figure, this time of the original version. For the final tier of this shelf, I have the maximum figure of Kid at the side, cause he is part of the Worst Gen trio. Below him, I have my custom-made Law Nendoroid doll. I DIY'd this, so he is not perfect. He is also cosplaying as Inosuke for now. Next, I have a sitting Law, also from BT Studio, together with the Beppo at the top. Lastly, next to him, is the figure from Mega House of Korra and Baby Law. I also have this ceramic or glass hand of Law, and I know this is stolen art from a super fashion brand called Neighborhood. But the real deal seems to be impossible to get. It's like it doesn't even exist. So I have to settle for this. After all, I really need a Law hand to touch. Moving down, I have more Law figures that couldn't fit above. No, actually this is where Law's statue is supposed to be. I needed to put him in to see how to lay this out. So yeah, it's a mess now. Here, as the main feature of this shelf, I have the 1/4 scale resin statue of Law by Sume. I got this aftermarket Law very generously as a birthday present. I swear, this is the best birthday present ever. Next to him, I have the Wano Arc Law, looking really chill. And if you think your eyes were playing tricks when you saw doubles, no. I do have 2 figures of this Law. I mean, I can't help it when Law is just pulling off the kimono look so well. At least for the other one, I gave him a third-party straw bucket hat. Hehe. In between the two of them, I have the SOC Zoro, who's also in a kimono and also sitting down. I need Mega House to release more of the SOC figures, especially Law. At the bottom, I have Kusu Ryuri from Kotobukiya that was re-released. This guy looks gorgeous. Next to him, I have the Mighty Jack Skeletal Law. I don't really know where to put this, so he's over here for now. Lastly, I have the Mega House figure of Hitsugaya. I'm glad we now have more figures of him to choose from. Moving down to the last shelf in this section, I have another shrine. This time for Rengoku. And just like before, more Nendoroid boxes below. At the back of the shelf, I have the Kuji prize figure of Rengoku Kyojuro and Senjuro, his little brother. For a prize figure, these two look pretty good. At the center, I have the Aniplex Rengoku, flanked by two Q Poskets figure of Rengoku and Tengen. I think most scale figure collectors don't fancy Q Poskets, but the fact that Rengoku is in the same pose as his scale figure, I just had to get this. On the lowest tier, I have the other Aniplex figure of Rengoku. After all, if you can't decide on which one, just get both. No, don't listen to me. I have poor financial responsibility. Fronting him, I have 3 Hikake figures of Rengoku. These look so adorable, and they are all slightly different. I also have the palm-sized figure of Rengoku, who was supposed to sit on my table, but he's here to be dust-free. On the other side, I have 2 little buff mice phone stands, both of which are supporting the Tengen scale figure, who is towering above them. This is the best Tengen figure out there, for the fact that he has his hair down. Okay, almost there. We are now at section 6 and 7. Starting off from the top, the line of acrylic stands of the Demon Slayer characters continues from the previous shelf. Here, I also have the 1/4 scale bunny figures of Yuiko by Yom, Chiyo and Mamako by Pochi, as well as X10 by Ayaki. All these figures are from Freeing. Because sections 6 and 7 are connected, I'll be moving on to the adjacent shelf. Here, I have the binding 1/4 figures of Caroline and Mio, both by Sakiyama. Both girls have ginormous bases, but I managed to stack them on top of each other using the Vertex Elf Girls Special Risers. This is a very clever design to save space. Moving down to the lower shelf, I first have a work-in-progress shrine of my most recent favorite, Hoshina. There are no scale figures of him out yet, so I'll just go through this shelf quickly. Right at the center, I have the foil art acrylic panel of Hoshina from the Kaiju 8 exhibition. All around him, I have a whole bunch of acrylic stands, including the largest one that ever exists. At the front, there are, well, more acrylic stands of Hoshina. I think I have a problem, but it's okay. Behind the stands, I have this giant Chibi Q version figure of Hoshina from Sunrise Pop. This is by far the cutest thing I own of this boy. And lastly, the only figure of him that I have right now is this noodle stopper. For a price figure, it looks pretty good. It has a decent amount of details. Okay, that's done. Moving on to the adjacent shelf. I don't know if this has a theme, but I put a bunch of figures with pedestals over here. At the top corner, I have one of my favorite characters from my childhood, Horo from Shaman King, on an ice pedestal. Next to him, I have the very colorful Leo from Prome on his very colorful flame pedestal. Lastly, I have the pop-up parade manga with no pedestal. Hence, Sukuna is looking down on her. Kinda. On the lower tier, I have both Chiyo and Miss Orange Jet by Pochi sitting on their pedestals. In between them is Nishinoya in the Hogwarts uniform, flying around cause he is near the witch. Lastly, on the lowest tier, I have two Gojos. One from Furyu and the other from Eastream. I couldn't decide which one, so I got both. Lastly, I have this little figure of Yeonwoo from my childhood game that I'm still playing, Maple Story. And if you know anything about Maple Story merch, you would know that this is bloody rare. A friend gave it to me. Okay, moving down now to my bigger shelf. I initially intended this shelf to be a full-on battle scene with the One Piece characters. Hence, it was designed to be so long. But I'm not sure what happened. A group of Egyptian-themed figures took over a spot. As such, it will be like this for now. Going into the One Piece side first, here, I have placeholder risers which are currently too wide and too high. This makes the figures here look cluttered, so this whole area has yet to be improved. For the One Piece figures, starting off at the back, I have the Film Rate Law prize figure. In front, I have the maximum figure of Ota, also from the Film Rate. Right next to her, I have the Kuji prize figure of Law, in the same outfit as his acrylic stand. At the corner, I have the ultimate duo, Sabo and Ace. Like, you can't get one without the other. On the lower tier, I have the Warriors Alliance Luffy and Zoro, which is basically the Wano outfit. I also got their Chocorin mascots below them, looking so adorable. Too bad we don't have a Sanji in this outfit. Behind Luffy, I also got the Law Chocorin mascot. And right above, a prize figure of Law in the same Wano outfit. Next to them, I have Shanks, with his sword out like the rest of the gang. Lastly, one of my favorites, Big Mama. Look at how big she is. And that's it for One Piece. Now, to move on to the Egyptian shelf. Right at the back, I have the 1/4 binding figures of Bastet, as well as Anubis. They both frame the third-party resin statue of Sino at the center. Below him, I have the 1/4 scale figure of Olga, also from binding. This is the re-released version, where she's in the white variant. Next, I have the Faustlander He-Magnetel, designed by Neko, perfect for the Egyptian theme. Right next to her, I have Miss Fortune from League of Legends. She has nothing to do with the Egyptian theme, but she kinda looks good over here. Well, she's next to the One Piece gang, and they are technically pirates too. So she's a bridge between the two themes. Lastly, I have the 1/6 scale figure of Camilla by Vertex. And next to her base, I have more Vertex cleverly designed risers. I mean, look at how perfect they are for round bases. Now, we are down to the last two shelves in this section, starting off with the Pokemon shelf over here. The risers here are also placeholders, so don't mind how cluttered this shelf looks right now. Also, just like the previous shelves, I have Nendoroid boxes below this one as well. But here, I put in a couple of the Mega House Nyan Piece cats cause they kinda look good here, especially the big ones. I may carry on this treatment for the rest of the shelves. For the Pokemon figures at the back, I have Dawn, Lucas, and Brandon. Behind them, I also have the remanned Pokemon Forest trees acting like a backdrop. Moving to the center, I have Leon and Charizard. This is probably my favorite Pokemon figure if you ignore Charizard's horrible sim line. At the other corner, I have Rosa, Nate, and May, with the Pokemon Forest once again. Moving down to the lower tier, I have the figures of Mani, Gloria, and Celine, together with the Pokemon Forest as well. At the center, we have Iona, one of the most aesthetic gym leaders I've ever seen, together with Bellybot. And on the other side, I have 3 lilies. Yes, you are not seeing doubles. I do have duplicates of one of the lily, which was a horrible mistake. But that story is for another time. Lastly, below the risers, I have the remnant figures of the Pokemon Back Alley series. With this done, I'll move on to the adjacent shelf. For now, this shelf is just full of Raita's figures. Below this shelf, I also have Nendoroid boxes, but this time with lookup figures in front of them. For the figures, I have Sasaki Kotone at this corner, with Nita Yui at the center. This is followed by Kuromoto Erika at the other side. On the lower tier, I have Akutsu Kirara. And that's all for this shelf, for now. Okay, we are down to the final section, number 8. Finally. For the top shelves at this section, I put all the really big Rengoku figures here. After all, they couldn't fit in the shrine. First up, I have the 1/4 scale figure of Rengoku from Aniplex. This is definitely the best 1/4 Rengoku out there. Moving on to the adjacent shelf, well, that doesn't stop me from getting the 1/4 scale figure of Rengoku by freeing. After all, he is in his final battle pose. Next to him, I have the 1/8 scale figure of Rengoku by Belfine. The figure which I was too lazy to open, but eventually got to it. For a 1/8 scale, his effects are super big, hence he's up here. Moving down, I have the futuristic dystopian city battle ready figures. Here, I am using a white law tower, which works pretty well with these mostly black and red figures. For the figures, starting off at the top, I have this Vash figure from Trigun Badlands Rumble. Next to him is Spike and Faye from Cowboy Bebop. And lastly on this row, I have Wolfwood, also from Trigun Badlands Rumble. On the lower tier, I have the newer Vash from Trigun Stampede, and he's surrounded by a couple of Neko ladies. One little remark that I have, I really dislike that the base of the new figure of S is square shaped. The rest of the Neko figures are round, and she just doesn't fit in well. Sobs. Lastly, on the lowest tier, I have the red variant of the Joker from Persona 5. Red just looks really good on this guy. Moving down, this shelf is meant for my third-party LX statue of Law, Kid, and Luffy. Surprisingly, I could fit other stuff here, so I'll have to see what I can do. On this shelf, I have the LX Studio figure of Law, Kid, and Luffy as mentioned. Next to them, I have the Jin the Arc figure by Alter from FGO. I'll let you in on a little secret. On its own, the flat pack had mysteriously broke off and is now being held together by blue tag. Well, this flag is mainly balancing off the metal support now, but you can't tell if you don't know. Next to her, you will find Chopper's hat. That's because I have the Edition Z Chopper right below her. His hat is just as adorable as him. In front, I have the maximum figure of Yamato, looking so glorious. I also have the Three Sword style figure of Nami right next to her. Lastly, right at the front of the shelves, I have the Run 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 figures from Mega House of the One Piece characters that I really like. Finally, we are on to the last shelf. This is supposed to be my angel shelf, but eventually, some other cute and pink things got in too. Like the previous shelf, I've got Nendo boxes and lookup figures over here. On the risers, I used the Kaiju 8 towers I got from Japan since they are quite colorful. For the figures at the back, I first have Lusada Mimi with the Good Smile Great War Jibril. At the center, I have Stella with the Yumekawa Princess Miku below. Next, I have Fat Company's poorly made Little Fluger Jibril with a headless figure. No, that's actually Usada Yu, which sadly broke from who knows where. I have not figured out how to fix these two yet, so yeah, here they are, and their broken parts. Anyway, moving on, I have the Ultimate Madoka Nendoroid over here, together with the Akuma Homura on the other side. This corresponds to the scale figure version of them at the front. And that pretty much wraps up all the figures in my collection wall. I do have some other stuff, like this Nendo wall which I have yet to finish cause most of the Nendos are still in their boxes. As well as these Funko shelves, which may never complete cause I limit what Funkos I buy. I also have a Dojin wall, as well as a plushie wall, but I'm too lazy to go through this stuff. Maybe next time. And that's all for today's video. Since I won't be around in December and over the new year, take this video as my 2024 collection review update. I've really come a long way since my collection update in 2021 on MFC. And my gosh, look at how the pile of boxes have grown. I'm definitely not setting a very good example for financial responsibility. Moving on to 2025, I've been more prudent with my spending and Wallet Kun is quite happy about it. I definitely have a lot less pre-orders now and hopefully it stays that way. There's also not much real estate space on my shelf, even though more could be done to optimize it. This collection tour is also just half of my house. I'm planning to do a more architectural home showcase, just like Stack Homes. Basically, to share more about the home design and renovation process. Who knows when I'll get that out? But now that I've said it in this video, I'm committed to do it. Anyway, thanks for staying to the end if you're still here. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you saw, do leave a like and subscribe with notifications to stay tuned to more videos. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye!